Welcome back to another episode of Kinks and Beauty. It's me, Brittney Ogike, and I'm here with the lovely Jessica Houston, and we are bringing you another episode about beauty. So today we are going to talk about all things brows.
My absolute
for this. I know Jess
favorite.
Yes,
I love this.
I know Jess loves brows.
I love brows.
I hate brows because I feel like it's just another thing, you know. And
it is another thing.
It's just like I equate it with getting my nails done. Like I hate getting my nails done. Some people love getting their nails done. I hate it. It's like a chore for me, and that's what brows are as well. It's just another thing to keep up because if your brows aren't done, it's bad, right? Even more so than your nails. So your brows always have to be snatched, kind of, because it can ruin your entire face. So we're going to talk about different brow processes.
Story of your face. Sorry.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's like it lets you know, like, I don't know.
I forgot I was here. Okay. We'll edit that out.
But yeah, brows
go ahead.
Brows definitely tell the story of your face. Like you can have on lashes, you can have on all this stuff, but if your brows aren't done, girl,
it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. Complete wrap. Especially if you have thick brows like me.
And that's the thing. Like there's so much brow envy, especially coming from me, because I once upon a time had thick brows, but not anymore. And so that's why I opted to go for some microblading, which we'll talk about in a sec. But yeah, we're going to get into all of it and do a deep dive into brows. So Jess, let's start off by just discussing the evolution of brows. So, you know,
I love it.
I know. I mean, like, okay, I'm in my mid 30s, you're in your early 30s. So I feel like we're kind of on the same like wavelength when it comes to like brow trends and stuff. But we've had a decade of thick brows being in, we've had a decade of thin brows being in, and I think now we're back to thick brows. Would you agree?
Absolutely. As soon as people lay down, I give them a disclaimer. I like to keep brows thick. It's just the thin brow, it just doesn't do anything for your face. It's just not. I remember in like the 2000s when everybody was like micro thin brows with like the super high arch. And it's just like, how did we even get there? Like, let's start there. I think it all started We Black. So I don't know if everyone remembers those little razors that when you were at the beauty shop and they would hold your brow up and do your hair, and the high, like it just progressively started to get higher, and then you walk out of the beauty shop with snatched hair and then you don't have no eyebrows.
Right.
Like,
and like,
it makes
and
no
that's
sense.
The thing. It makes no sense. And then it messed up the brows for people like me, because I feel like my brows are permanently thin now because of that era. Right. So it was like the shaving of the brows, it was the waxing, and then everyone was doing the threading and
tweezing.
And tweezing, and that really messed up a lot of people's brows. And because of that, to this day, they're a little thick, but I love them to be a lot thicker. But the reason why, I've gone to like a few different brow people, and they've told me the threading is what messed me up, because when you go get your eyebrows threaded, I mean, they do a great job, but they want that precision, right? So they cut into your line, your arch. And over time, your arch tends to
just gets higher.
It gets higher and higher, and your brows get thinner and thinner. And so yeah, that's where we're at with the brows, with my brows. So I think people still get their brows threaded, right? I mean, it's still popular, so to say, right? Or do you think we're leaning more towards waxing now?
So disclaimer, I got I used to get my eyebrows threaded. I think that I have now converted back to waxing. I just have to find because I can't do my own brows. It's something about being an esthetician and doing your own services. There's certain services that we can do, but there's certain services that like you can just a service for a service or just like support another esthetician or whatever.
Right.
So that's one of those things that I'm going to let someone else do because they can look at my face and I can just relax. So I did get my brows threaded for living in LA. I've got my brows threaded for the past 7 years. Consistently going to one threader. If you try to change up your service provider a lot, then your brows or whatever you're doing is it's not going to be consistent. So been going to a lady consistently for the past couple of years, and she got my brow kind of where I wanted it. But then I have naturally thick brows. My brows have always been thick. So I started to see them thinning out and I didn't like it. So, she actually went away for the entire summer. So that also let my brows breathe. So it let me see them in their fullness. So if you are getting them threaded, just make sure that you give them as much direction as possible, because the girls are still getting threaded because, like you said, it gives you that precision. And also people are allergic to wax some of the time. So threading causes them not to have an allergic reaction, which is why people get threaded too. So it's kind of a preference, but I would definitely say to get waxed over threaded.
Okay. So let's go into the different types of procedures that we're getting, right? So to enhance our brows, there's microblading. There's is it micro shading or just shading or brow shading?
So it's microblading, powder brows, and then shading.
And then
powder
shading.
brows and shading are kind of interchangeable. I think the pigment in shading just isn't as it's not going as deep as it is with powder brows. And then, so let's start with microblading first. So microblading is you actually think of getting a tattoo. When you get a tattoo, they're actually cutting your skin and then they're putting the pigment for the line or the tattoo in your skin, and then it heals and then it's permanently in your skin. That's what microblading is. Microblading is
semi-permanent because you got to get it redone.
You have to go get it touched up, but it's the act of cutting your skin, and the actual tool that you're cutting with has the pigment on it, and when you cut it, then it pushes that pigment into your skin, and then once you've done the whole brow, you go through a period where it has to heal, and then it basically, Britt will be able to speak to it a little bit more because she's gone through the procedure, but it gets darker before it starts to lighten up, and then that's the process of it like scabbing over, it healing. Once that scab comes off, then you have your perfect brow.
Right.
Powder brows, on the other hand, is pushing the pigment into your skin. So instead of you cutting the skin, there's a tool that is like pushing it. It's like a little pin, like a little very fine pin, and it's pushing that pigment into your skin. And then you use different strokes to make the brow look a little bit more natural, but it's not as invasive as the actual slitting of the skin. And then shading is pretty much the exact same thing, where it's just like a pigment that you're like dyeing your eyebrows. Well, let's go here. Shading and tinting are about the same because it's just darkening the brows to give you a more full look. The objective of
darkening the hairs, the eyebrow hairs,
darkening the hairs. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you would say that all these procedures are good for Black skin, right? Like they, microblading, obviously, right? But the shading, the tinting, those would all be effective eyebrow enhancers for melanated skin.
Yes. I would say more so tinting. Shading, I haven't seen shading a lot. I'm just going to be honest. Shading is the one that I've seen the least because it's so similar to powder and brow tinting. It's just figuring out, it's kind of just the title of what they're advertising it as. Tinting will be the least invasive, but it's also the one that lasts the least because it's literally just dyeing your brow hairs. Powder brows is going right, is that that skin right under your hair. Like if you have any thin hairs or you have any sparse areas in your brows, then that's what the powder brows will be able to fill in as well.
Okay, interesting. And then we have another one, lamination. What's that?
I love lamination. Lamination is essentially the perming of your eyebrow hairs. So you have, it's basically like getting a perm to make the hairs for your brows stand straight up to give you that full look. So it basically, when you have curly eyebrow hairs, if they're curling over and you want them to always stick or stand straight up or give the illusion that they're not trying to curve over, then you would get them laminated to elevate your face. And that typically lasts for about 4 to 6 weeks, and you don't have to go back as often to get your brows done because they're always going to be in the brushed up position.
So essentially with the lamination, you probably don't really need to use a brow gel, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. That's interesting. Yep. Okay. So I want to just do a deep dive into my, eyebrow maintenance, right? So I love doing this podcast with you because I feel like we're always opposite. So like you have really thick, curly brows. Well, would you say your hairs are curly? Yeah. And mine are on the thinner side and pretty straight. So I recently did their microblading. And
okay, so first, Britt, tell them why you wanted to get microblading.
Right, because I felt like my brows were thinning. They're sparse now. And then another thing with me, it's maintenance. So I want to be able to get up and go without having to do the powder and, you know, the gel and the tweezing and all that for my brows every day. So I wanted something that's going to give me a more permanent, enhanced brow look. And again, I was struggling with the thinning brows. So I wanted that full look that's really in right now. And I will say, we also, just like with your hair texture, you also have to come to terms with your brows, right? So my brows are never going to look like Jessica's. There's no amount of microblading, extra hairs that's going to have my brows as full and arch just like Jessica's. So you have to come to terms with your shape and the texture of your brows, just like you have to come to terms with the texture of your hair. There's very little manipulation you can do with your brows. So I had to realize that off top. So in deciding to microblade, please do your research. I cannot stress that enough. I researched for like weeks before I decided to go ahead and book an appointment. And the reason for that is, as a Black woman, not everyone can do certain procedures on us, right? It's not a one size fit all, esthetician, brow lady, brow person, whatever. So I wanted to make sure that, one, they knew what they were doing in terms of like the shape and the style of brow I wanted based on my current, brow shape and brow texture. But also I wanted to look for people who had experience dealing with Black and brown skin, because one of the biggest aspects of microblading is the actual pigment the color that they pick for your
Mm-hmm.
brows. So you
Yep.
don't want it to be too dark. You don't want it to be too light. You want it to be just right for, your hair color, right? So that was very important to me. I wanted to find a I don't know what you call it, a brow tech that had experience microblading people with black and brown skin. So that was very important to me. Then another thing that's important is doing your consultation with the brow tech. So let them know what your expectations are. And they'll sit there and tell you, look, you are not going to have these thick ass eyebrows. Like, this is the best I can do for you. Yep. And this is why, right? We spent a lot of time going over my shape, going over just little intricacies that you would think aren't important, but actually are. So with all that being said, just do your research and make sure, because though it's semi-permanent, it lasts for a long time. And if they fuck up your brows, I don't even know how you fix it. And it's going to be a long, painful process, because the microblading process is painful. Like, don't let anyone fool you. There is no amount of numbing cream that will prevent you from feeling a little bit of pain. Right. So just to walk you through the process, once you book the appointment, you do the consultation with the brow tech. They go over your shape. You discuss what your wants and needs are. They set the expectations. Then they put numbing cream on, and like I said, they do the numbing cream, but you still feel stuff. The numbing cream only lasts for a certain amount of time. One of the things that was happening with me was I was bleeding.
How many sessions have you done since then? Okay. Okay. It's small cuts. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. I like Brittney's brows. It's something that I don't need, but I definitely was very interested when she was like, I'm going to get my eyebrows microbladed. I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. But it's always something that I thought about me doing myself as a service provider, but I think that I would want to do more so the powder brows, because it's not like Brittney says she was bleeding a lot. That's not for me, because I would be like, Lord, she won't stop bleeding. What? No, that's like it's a whole thing. It's also a different it's a different part of our license. So basically I would have to become a tattoo artist in conjunction with my license. Mm-hmm. Because it's permanent. Yes, permanent makeup. So you would have to get a completely different license for that. So it's something that I'll do down the line. It's, Lord. The cost of these procedures are on the more expensive side because of the amount of product that has to be used, the amount of time that has to be done, and also the expertise. Like, a lot of people don't understand why services are as expensive as they are. And I'm going to be completely honest and let you know that you're paying for the time, one, and you're paying to know that who's doing your service knows exactly what they're doing, and you're going to get up from the table with a positive experience and know that, like, this person didn't just mess me over. I'm not going to feel like it's shitty oh no, what happened? Why is this happening? Brittney's gone again. Hello? Then my computer is going crazy. This is insane.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but we're back.
What is happening? Okay. What was I saying? So yeah, when you are getting your when you're doing your research, also make sure that you're looking at the price of said services, because they are going to be a little bit more on the pricey side. So you want to make sure that it's an investment. Right. A lot of these beauty,
and you get what you pay for. Don't try to find the cheapest deal.
Correct. Because if you find the cheapest deal, then it's like it's probably somebody who's starting out and they're getting their footing, and so just make sure that you do your research, like Brittney said, for sure.
Right. So if we talk about the different procedures, like we mentioned, getting the microbladed brows is probably for someone with thinner brows looking for a fuller permanent look. The lamination is probably for someone with thicker curly brows. Think of it as like a perm for your brows. The shading and tinting is probably just for someone, I guess, maybe thick or thin, that just wants some type of color enhancement. Make their brows pop on their face, and it's not as permanent as the microblading. Also, if you have a very low pain tolerance, microblading is not for you, because you can't be jumping and screaming and stuff like that, because they will fuck your brows up. So also keep that in mind. People, honestly, like, I was under the impression that it wasn't going to be painful for me. Luckily, I do have a very high tolerance for pain, so it was fine. But I've talked to people who just can't handle any type of pain, and I'm like, well, it's probably not for you unless they put you under. And I don't see any brow tech with a license to put people to sleep while they're getting their brows microbladed.
And it's kind of like, if you start, I don't know exactly where they start on the brow. If they start at the front, I'm pretty sure they probably start like right here in the front and then work their way down the brow. It's like, well, girl, you can't get right here halfway through the brow and then be like, I can't handle this. Like,
yeah, no, you got to keep
we
going.
still have a full brow to go and another one. So you're gonna have to buck up, Chuck. Like,
yeah,
there's no, you can't run from that one. So
no. So yeah, do your research, talk to your brow techs just to, figure out what their expectations are and your expectations are, and make sure you're on the right page. I will say, since getting my brows microbladed, I don't have to go in for touch-ups in terms of just like, waxes as often as I used to. I don't know. I don't know if it's you, Jess, or someone said it's because those hair follicles are already like kind of damaged, maybe in a way. I don't know.
The ones, well, when you get your brows done, as far as the maintenance go, it's really the hairs under that are it's not as noticeable. They're not damaged. Well,
okay, it's just not as noticeable.
It's just not as noticeable. You can't. It's a little bit more disguised. Whereas if someone, you basically, the hairs are growing more so in a because I look at your brows every time I do them, like you can see the pigment under, and the hair is lighter than the pigment that they used. So when your hairs are growing, it's not as noticeable that the hairs are out of place as much as when it's just your eyebrows are growing. So like when my brows growing, you can tell when I need my eyebrows done because my hair looks crazy and it's looking like Chewbacca under here and then they're long up here. But yours, you can't tell because the pigment is disguising it a little bit more. Okay.
That makes sense. Makes perfect sense. So are we using any brow products? Do you have any faves?
I do have some faves. Benefit and Anastasia are probably my go-tos. Kelly Baker Brows is also, I just started using that. It's also a good line as well. Just not overfilling the brows. We're out of 2016, that era of just like overdone brows. Just give it a soft look. You just need a light powder, a light pencil, and a brow gel, and a highlighter under. The highlight does work wonders. It just brings the eyebrow to the front of your face, and it gives it more of a focus. And then the powder or the pencil that you're using is basically just filling in. So when I fill in my brows, I typically fill in right at the arch because those hairs are a little bit thinner. So to just give it a fuller look, I just fill in right there and then go down the brow. But you don't need to be in the mirror, putting the highlight up here, the highlight down here, then going in with a super dark, like, no, sis, just do like a light little situation.
Are we filling in with powder or pencil?
That's a personal preference. I kind of use both. The powder, the pencil gives you a more natural look. If you're going to work for the day, you don't want to do a lot, you could just fill in with the pencil to just give it a full look. The powder powder is gonna last a little bit longer, and it's gonna darken the entire brow. It's gonna change the look of the brow immediately, whereas the pencil is just gonna give you that soft, like, whoop. So it's really, you can use both. You can use a pencil and a powder. You can just stick with the powder. The powder it tends to stay a little bit longer throughout the day because powder is going to mix with the oils in your skin. It might seep down just a little bit more. And throughout the day, it'll just get better and better. Whereas with the pencil, it might come off as soon as you wipe your brows. So,
okay. Love that. I'm currently I don't really use any powders or pencils anymore since the microblading. I just use some brow gel just to keep my hairs up when I have makeup on. I'm currently using like the Kosas brow gel. I really like it. I don't know what color I have, but I think it's like a black, like a noir color. I really like it though. It definitely gives my brow an extra little pop before I
done.
I
will say when you use a a brow gel, try to use one that is tinted, because throughout the day, if you use a clear gel, it's just like gel that you put in your hair. It's going to have that white cast on it. So like by the time you get to the end of the day, you get home and you look in the mirror. This happened to me a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, what the fuck is that on my brows? Yes. I was like,
what gel was it? Can we name drop or no?
I'll tell you off air.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't. I was like, and it's happened to me when I was in school. It happened, and I was like, well, this is shit. So I threw that one away very quickly. My favorite one though. My favorite one is Benefit. It's this little. Well, I got the travel size. It's it has like that little pointy top.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll drop it in. I have that. Silver. That one. It's silver.
Yes. I love that thing. One. Mm-hmm. I love it. It's so good. When them hair, once you stick you'll be like, good. This is amazing. Yeah. But yeah, I've never had the white cast on the Benefit brow gel. So if you're looking for a good clear brow gel, I would definitely say the Benefit. We'll drop it in the show notes exactly which one it is. And I think Benefit, they have tinted brow gels too, which work.
They do.
Amazing. You just have to, like Brittney said, make sure that you find the right color. I don't think that we really know about brow colors. Like, I wouldn't go in and get even though they are filled in, but my natural brow isn't jet black. They look jet black right now, but it's not jet black. So you would get like a dark brown. Benefit, theirs goes like 1 to 7 or 1 to 6 or something like that. So you would just want to make sure that you know what color that you should get. And Benefit is also really good about helping you figure out what type of brow gels or colors you need to.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Jess.
Of course.
I hope everyone learned a thing or two about brows today. We're doing the thin brow is not in. We're doing thick brows. We're doing fluffy brows. We're doing straight hairs. We're doing, minimal arches, which is super important as well. So yeah, if you guys have any other brow looks or tips or tricks, let us know. Send us a DM on Kingston Beauty on Instagram, email us, drop us a comment on social media, or even call us. We're at the store. Pull up too. Jessica does some amazing brows.
All the time. I do want to say one thing. Trust your brow person. Don't go in the room or go in the chair and just be like, this is what I want. Let her look at your face. Let her assess your face and see what is the best brow shape for you. It might be a lot of times when I get a new client and they're coming in for brows, I tell them what I envision their brows to look like. And then it's a little journey. Like, you have to be able to trust the process and know that sometimes we didn't take this hair because of this, or we see a end goal that you probably don't see, but we should be able to explain it to the best of our ability. So just go in. I know brows are super important to everyone, but don't go in with this unrealistic expectation of walking out with this super high arch if your face doesn't call for a super high arch.
Right.
And that's just my take.
And one more thing, Jess, I heard this before, and I just want to confirm with you, our brow expert. Your brows can never be 100% identical. Is that true?
Correct. Your brows are, we like to say your brows are, is it sisters, not twins, or sisters, not, or cousins, not. Yeah, it's sisters, not twins. Your brows are sisters, not twins. So like my sister and I, we look just alike, but we're completely different. So that's right. They're never going to be exactly identical. One brow is always going to grow different because of the way you sleep, because of the way, like I sleep on my right side. So my right brow is always a little bit different than my left. It's just natural. You have scars in some of your brows. So that's automatically going to change the way your arch is going to look. Or you have more hair in one brow than you do in the other. It's just the way the cookie crumbles.
I love that. Your brows are sisters, not twins.
Correct.
Love that. Thanks for that word, that little gem there. All right. So we have come to the end of our episode. Thanks so much for listening to us. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Kingston Beauty. Subscribe to us wherever you hear your podcasts. And for product recommendations, just read about them in the show notes. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a great week.
Bye.